All right. For you guys over on the Zoom side of things, we're also live on Facebook. It would be ideal if you put your questions in the Q&A section. Yes, there's chat, but Q&A is best. So it just helps us because we're monitoring comments in two different spaces. So let's see. All right. I'll kick it off. So good evening, everybody. My name is Kirsten Green. I am now called Executive Director of the Retired Racehorse Project. I'm here with Rayna Erasmus, who is our show secretary for the Thoroughbred Makeover, and is going to be, for you guys that are new this year, the primary point of contact for competitor-related stuff. You've probably already dealt with her plenty as is. And we also have with us Kristen Bentley, who is our communications manager. She runs all of our social accounts, does a lot of writing for us, just keeps all of the social stuff fed and running. So we like to do these webinars a couple times throughout the year. Sometimes they are, a handful of them are just kind of informational for deadlines and things that are happening throughout the year. And then we also put together webinars that are more educational content, things for those of you that put your horse in the marketplace in October, like just tips for getting your horse's ad together and making a really good ad, nutrition, body condition, that sort of thing. Anytime we host a webinar, we always record it and we put it up on YouTube. And it's always available to watch after the fact in the video section in the Facebook group or on the Facebook page, depending on where we host it. So that's just some quick housekeeping. But again, welcome. We're excited to welcome the class of 2022. It's going to be a great year. We're excited to be hosting more classes in conjunction with TIP championships. So it's going to be a great weekend, very thoroughbred intensive between that and a little bit of expansion to the ASPCA marketplace. Our awards dinner will be back on Friday. So, kind of getting back to a little bit more of a normal schedule after having made it through the Mega Makeover last year. So the first thing that we want to talk about is just some housekeeping stuff. And we're going to kind of run through some of the things that are in the acceptance letter that you received yesterday, and we'll be here to answer any questions that come up for you. The first big thing for us is communications. There are very few of us that work here. We look like a big national organization, but like there's only one other person that works in the office that Rayna and I are in, and that's it. So we ask that people route their communications through our email inboxes, not through Facebook Messenger, primarily because if it comes into our personal messenger inboxes, it's not in our work inboxes, and it's not there. Like if it comes in after hours, which A, is not really fair to us, but also B, it's not there for us when we are at our desk to take care of. So it just helps us service you more efficiently if you put things in our Facebook inboxes, in our regular email inboxes. Rayna's like, oh my God, no Facebook. Just like, avoid using Facebook or social inboxes at all. Even if you email or if you send a message to our primary Facebook page, you're going to get an auto response that says, if this is about the makeover, email Rayna. So it helps us with our work-life balance, but it also helps us to service you more efficiently. And then the other thing is that if all of our emails, whether they are organizational e-blasts and newsletters, or whether they are specific communications for trainers, go out via the same service. So if you are not subscribed or if you unsubscribe, you're going to be taken off of that list, and you're not going to get the critical communications of information throughout the year. So just keep that in mind. Do you want to take it from there as far as like resources and things?
Sure. Yeah. I am one of your resources, like Kirsten said, for like any question you have regarding rules, schedule, any sort of policies, email me, secretary@tvmakeover.org. that is the best way to reach me. Or you can call the office, but I promise I will reply if you email me. I'm generally pretty good at that. And then of course the rule book, which is on the Thoroughbred Makeover website and linked in your acceptance letter email and pretty much anywhere else you can imagine. That's the holy grail. Read it, every inch of it. And the trainer portal where you submitted your application. Those are going to be your 3 big resources. The trainer group is really a really good resource as well, just really to follow along with everyone else's journey. And Kristen will get into that a little bit more later, as well as our YouTube channel has, videos from past finales and other webinars. And again, Kristen will get into that a bit more later as well. So that brings us to
schedule of critical dates. So it's important to note that we've made a change and with our deadlines. So we've made a point of making sure that all of our deadlines fall on a weekday and that the deadline is 5 p.m. Eastern time. So we were just having a little bit of trouble where, people that were submitting things on the day that they were due, if it was a Saturday and they were having trouble, then they were just absolutely panicked and nobody was in the office to help them on Saturday afternoon. So we just made a point of making sure that deadlines fall at a time where we're going to be in the office and 100% available to assist people with things. So just please be mindful of that, particularly our returning trainers. Our deadlines have been pretty consistent for the last few years, the 30th, the 31st, the 15th, and at midnight Pacific time. So please just update whatever groove is carved in your brain when it comes to deadlines with us. We have started to make use of a wait list over the last few years, and we are still, that wait list is open. We are accepting applications all the way up through the end of June with a late fee. But if you need to add an extra horse or if somebody else needs to get entered, that is still an option. So our late fee is $75 per incident. So that's if you have a late application and then you have a late horse registration or something like that, it's per incident. And then just because we offer a late fee doesn't mean that we're going to honor late paperwork. There's some areas where we have some room to accommodate late paperwork. And then there's other areas where we are up against a very tight deadline, like if it's for print for the magazine or something like that, and we just get to a point where we no longer can accommodate changes. We try to do everything that we can to be accommodating, but just know that there are times where our hands are truly tied. So if you have a look at your acceptance email, I encourage you to just put these dates in your calendar. They're the big deadlines that are throughout the year. Please understand, this isn't a horse show. This is an event that serves a charitable mission of a nonprofit organization. And so we have more paperwork, we have more processes, there's more involved in the event itself than a typical horse show. And all of the paperwork that we ask for of you is either critical to running that event or critical to understanding how we are fulfilling our mission. It's not just arbitrary. It comes in terms of how we market and promote what we're doing, how we market and promote the horses, and just having our understanding in metrics and understanding how horses are passing through aftercare and that sort of thing. So just please understand that. Please stay on top of your deadlines. There's several hundred of you, and there's 8 of us that work for this entire organization. So just bear with us. And that reminds me of I meant to say at the beginning, just a little thing to note that Retired Racehorse Project, or RRP, is the nonprofit organization that produces the event that you are entered in that's called the Thoroughbred Makeover. It's been accepted as a colloquialism to say RRP eligible or the RRP and refer to the event, but it's technically incorrect. So just for what it's worth, when you're promoting yourself on social media and that sort of thing, we always appreciate trying to get that correct. But again, just understand that everything that is about this event is in service of a charitable mission that we're trying to fulfill. So it's quite a bit different than just a big exciting horse show at the end of the year. Anything else on dates and deadlines?
I mean, do we want to do a little run through of these deadlines? It's the first one, well, but really the first one would be the horse registration deadline for those of you that have already been accepted, which is July 29th by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you have not registered your horse yet, you'll want to do that. Backing up a bit, the earliest date that you can get your horse's EHV1 vaccine is April 10th. And the last date to add additional horses or complete late applications, whether that's for team members, individuals, or team captains, is June 30th. And then final entries will open on August 1st.
And like when it comes to your EHV1 vaccine, that you need to make sure that that falls in the window that's prescribed here, and you need to make sure that you have appropriate documentation. That's described in detail in our rule book, but we have sent people home for not having their vaccines in the right window or with appropriate documentation. And just please don't make it all the way there and have that be the thing that trips you up.
So the last day, so the earliest is April 10th for EHV1. The absolute last day that you can have the EHV1 vaccine done would be September 26th.
So yeah, that horse registration deadline, that's a big one. That's if you don't have a horse registered at that time, we're assuming that you're not coming. And it's really important to register your horses as soon as you have them. Understand that just because you register a horse with us doesn't lock you into anything. You can change horses all around, withdraw, swap, that sort of thing, all the way up until that horse registration deadline closes. But it's helpful for us to stay on top of those registrations because they populate a whole profile. Like if you look at the entry list and it just says your horse's name and your name, if you actually click on that and open it, there's a whole profile there. And it's where your horse's ad ends up when you enter them in the marketplace, if you do. And it's a really key for us to be able to have accurate representation of horses that are impacted by the makeover. And you know, for all intents and purposes, we consider a horse a makeover grad if it was ever registered with us, regardless of whether or not it actually completes the event in October. But if you never register with us, we can't acknowledge that horse in any way, shape, or form. So get your horse registrations in early. Tell us, you know, it's helpful if you give us a little bit more background than one-word answers, just telling us how you got your horse and that sort of thing. We try to gather a lot of information about how horses travel between their exit from the racing industry and into new homes. And so the form is really built out to try to help us understand more about that. And the more information that you give us, like we go looking through the horse registrations, trying to find stories to tell, noteworthy connections, cool stories of how you got your horse, horses that were, you know, had a really compelling story while they were racing, that sort of thing. So the more information you can give us, the better.
I can add to that a little bit too. You know, I know that there's situations where trainers, you know, might be like, I have 3 horses to choose from and I only have 1 slot, so I'll just wait and make my decision in July. But the reason that we appreciate horses kind of popping onto our radar early is because the racing industry itself is actually using our entry page as a resource. There's been huge increased interest from folks in the racing industry to actually find horses that they have lost track of. We've gotten emails and messages before that people just really appreciate knowing where their horse went. You know, and sometimes horses that they have fallen off their radar, they'll find years later and they're like, oh, I'm so excited to see, you know, such and such is going to the makeover. That's really great. I remember him when he was a yearling. So it's a nice way to bridge that gap between the racing world and the equestrian world. So the sooner you can get your horse registered, the happier everyone will be. We are actually already starting to market that entry list and people are looking for their horses now. So get your horses in.
Just a few other points on the horse registration. We only contact you about your horse registration if there's a problem, like if we're having a hard time verifying eligibility or anything like that. If It may take us a couple of days between when you submit and when it populates online and says accepted. But we will contact you if there's a problem. You don't get a confirmation saying you're in, just for the record. And then the only other point is just remember that horses can't be shared between people unless they are registered as a team horse to that team. They can't be registered, you know, to an individual trainer and a team. They can't be registered to 2 individual trainers. So just bear that in mind. If you are on a team, your team captain is the one that has the rights to the entry and is responsible for filing the paperwork associated, whether it's the horse registration, the final entry form, ad creation, notifying us of horse sales, like all that sort of thing. That access is delegated to the team captain. There's some really good questions in the Q&A about selling your horses and marketing them and all that sort of thing. There's a little bit. The next section is actually ASPCA Marketplace, so we'll get to that in just a second. And there's always lots of questions about when can I book my stalls? When can I get moved into the horse park? Is there going to be schooling? All that sort of thing. And like, yes, but let's cross that bridge in the summer. We put out a form at the beginning of August, and that's what we refer to as the final entry form. And the event hinges off of that form. So first step, register your horse. If you don't have a horse registered by the end of July, we're going to assume you're not going. If you have a horse registered in August and you don't fill out a final entry form for that horse, we're going to assume the horse isn't going and we're going to scratch them. So final entry form, that's going to be where you finally declare exactly which disciplines you want to compete in at the event. It's going to be where you reserve your stabling. We automatically like charge you the schooling fees and that sort of thing at that time. We can't move horses in any earlier than Monday. Please know that there are many other events running at the horse park and they need time to transition between the 2 of them. So, you know, they need time to clean out stalls and all that sort of thing from outgoing shows, get arenas cleared out and all that sort of thing. There's plenty of opportunity for schooling. We usually have at least 1 whole day dedicated to getting horses into competition venues for schooling opportunities. So don't worry, we're very dedicated to getting you the information that you need, like in plenty of time for when you need it, but you're still a good couple of months away from having to worry about stabling and stuff like that. We'll get to it. The only thing that I would consider thinking about at this early stage is your lodging. Just between, there's often an event going on specifically in the horse park campground. So if you're planning on staying in a camper or in your living quarters trailer, I would go ahead and take care of that now and go ahead and make whatever other lodging arrangements that you need, just because it's Kentucky in the middle of October, Keeneland's running, there's stuff going on at the university, like there's just no shortage of reasons to be in town. So go ahead and get that part knocked out as early as possible. Okay, well, since there's questions about the ASPCA Marketplace and selling your horse, so when you register your horse, there is an indicator to say whether or not you expect that your horse is going to be for sale. And all that does at this stage is to turn on a little green horse head icon next to your horse's name on the entry list, just to indicate that it's likely going to be for sale. Then what happens when we do final entry period is we ask you to confirm whether or not your horse is going to be for sale. There's a couple of different listing options if you're going to include your horse in the marketplace, ranging from just an ad in the print version of the catalog and the digital online version. But we also have a couple of options for like larger ads or having your horse on the Jumbotron in the covered arena. So you confirm all that and you create your ad online at that point. That's pretty early on before the event, we realize. So what we're asking you to create at that point is, you know, just the basics, like get a good picture in, write a little bit of copy. We have all the details, height, color, all that sort of thing from your horse registration. We pull in all that stuff and format it automatically. And we do require you to go ahead and put a price. But here's the thing. You're still like 6 weeks, 2 months out at that point, and we know that's still a lot of time to make, progress with the horse. You can edit your online ad as many times as you want throughout that whole period. You can log in and make changes. So, it's just a matter of, we have a print deadline that we have to honor, so we have to get that information from you guys early, but we're giving you the flexibility with the online catalog to make those changes. So somebody had asked about how firm the marketplace price is. This is your transaction. You guys price horses how you feel is appropriate. You have the negotiating power when it comes to sellers, or when it comes to buyers and doing that transaction. The only thing that we do require is that you do have a bill of sale with an anti-slaughter language in it. That's all we ask, but your price and everything is all up to you. We're not party to the transaction. Let's see. Under the horse entry, there is an option to upload bill of sale. That's a good question. I'm not sure why there's a bill of sale there. That's new. That probably has to do, that's probably a field that is related to our sale report form. And that is the only other thing that we ask, is that regardless of whether or not you put a horse in the ASPCA marketplace, you need to tell us when horses sell. That's just records and accountability on our part. So regardless of whether or not you marketed them with us, and regardless of what point, if it's 2 years on down the road, like, we would like you to come back and tell us that you sold your horse. Janie asked about health certificates. So it's 30 days out of state, and Kentucky is a year, I think, if it's in state.
Yeah, so it's 30 days within your move-in date. So if you're moving in the earliest, Monday, October 10th, no more than 30 days from that date.
And the Kentucky Horse Park is always going to go by whatever the Kentucky state vet is. So if you ever just want to double check that, you can always just go to the Kentucky State Vet's website.
Can I touch on teams a little bit more?
Yeah.
So I just want to, we touched on it a bit, but the difference between team entries and individual entries. So if you have an individual entry, when you come to the makeover, that is one person competing one horse. For the team entries, it's a minimum of 2 people. That horse can be entered in up to 2 disciplines, but at least 2 people need to represent that horse in every discipline it is entered in. So if you're entered in show hunters and competitive trail, someone's going to need to do the under saddle, and another person, like, you can split it up however you want, and that's in the rule book. But for example, you would have one person do an under saddle, and then the other person would do both the over fences courses. And for competitive trail, one person would do the first half of the course, you would swap halfway through, and the second person would do the second half of the course. So you cannot have one person do one discipline if it's a team horse. And you can't have, like Kirsten said earlier, if you have one horse and you wanted to do it that way, you wanted to enter the horse in show hunters and competitive trail, but you wanted team captain to do show hunters and team member to do competitive trail. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. And you cannot also have that horse registered as an individual for 2 different applicants. A horse can only be registered for one entry for one person.
Just to finish off a couple of other points about the marketplace, it's, I didn't actually really describe what the marketplace is for those of you guys who have never been, and I know that the majority of people this year are new. So basically it is an outstanding and like unparalleled shopping opportunity. Once you indicate that your horse is going to be included in the marketplace, it's a print catalog, it's a online digital catalog. We make sure to share every single horse on social media between August and leading into the event. And we have some media partnerships as well that help us get horse listings out there. We do a lot of marketing, to pull buyers in, sending out bulk mailings and that sort of thing to tell people to come and shop. And so what it is like, once you're there, you get a lot of different things throughout the event that help indicate that your horse is for sale or adoption in the marketplace. You have like your bridle numbers have an icon on them, your stall cards have an icon on them, in the print list, in the competitor list online, and in the program, your horse is identified as being for sale. And so basically, like, we provide this catalog and buyers come and they can come and seek you out and watch your horse compete. And we have a dedicated trial arena right there next to the covered arena. So it's just a really phenomenal shopping opportunity to see, usually over 100 horses that have had, at least like 10 months or so of training in a competition environment. Where else do you get to see how your potential horse is going to perform in a competition environment? That's always a big unknown when you're shopping for a horse. So it's just really phenomenal option. ASPCA sponsors it, and it's just really great visibility. It's no guarantee that your horse will sell. Like, your part of the deal is that you need to help market the horse well also, and that includes taking a good picture of it and putting it up and writing some decent copy, and we'll help you with that sort of thing. We're a market-based approach to aftercare, and so we want these horses well marketed so that they can fetch good prices. Like, that is the crux of what we do as an organization. So we're here to help you with that piece. Let's see. Joanne wants to know, how do you get the trainers' names to be in blue in the acceptance list? If there's a hyperlink, that means that a website was provided for that trainer when they applied. You can contact Rayna and ask if you have a social media page or a website or a blog or something like that that you want included, and then we can add that to your profile. Can a RRP Facebook page be used to raise money? What logos are we allowed to use? I assume that means if you create your own Facebook page to promote your own activities in your horse, which is totally fine and absolutely encouraged. We do not allow sharing of fundraisers and that sort of thing, like in the groups that we run, but you are welcome to do that with pages that you run for yourself. We were going to touch on it a little bit farther down, but just beware. Typically, fundraising and getting sponsorships and that sort of thing, that doesn't affect your amateur status with us, but if you are competing under other federations, you want to make sure to do your research and make sure that that's not going to impact your amateur status with another federation. Logos, you need to ask our permission to use logos. The answer is almost always yes. They can't be altered and they cannot be put on things to be sold to the general public. If you want to put a logo, an RRP logo on your t-shirts that you're selling, they need to be somehow unique to you, like Team Jobber or whatever, that so that it's unique to you. It's not something that you're just selling for commercial gain. So that approval has to go through our office. Amanda wanted to know how many sell at the Makeover and go through the marketplace. We typically have about 100, 120 horses or so in the marketplace each year. Selling data is tough because we are dependent on you guys to report that information to us. And so, the graduate average, I believe, is about $9,000 is what it's been, like what people have been able to sell for, but it's absolutely not unheard of horses going for, 15, 20 as well. So that's a little bit about marketplace. And then the only other thing is that the marketplace will expand this year, and there's going to be an adoption barn. So that's going to be for organizations that are Right Horse partner organizations, and we'll have more information coming out about that soon. But just wanted to make you guys aware that that is happening, and it's a really neat expansion to service a larger population of horses through that. Okay. Code of conduct. I just like to touch on this. We do have a competitor or participant code of conduct. It is lined out in full detail in our rule book. When you completed your participation agreement, you acknowledged that code of conduct and that you agreed to abide by it. When you enter into the makeover, you automatically become tied to us as an organization. Your activities and how you conduct yourself in your community ties right back to us. You Google your name and we're going to be right there on the first page more than likely. So please operate well within the code of conduct. You can think that we're not going to hear if you do something bad, but I guarantee you that we do, and it's not a lot of fun having to defend bad behavior. So go out there and be good and do good and be a good representative of your community. And hopefully I don't have to have a conversation with you about it, but it just had to be said. So, more on microchips and health requirements.
A couple more questions if you want to do
Facebook questions.
Sarah wants to know, she was considered an amateur on her application, but will be 17 at the time of the makeover. So yes, you would still be considered a junior. If you want to send me an email with your birth date, and we'll get that corrected for you.
Well, are you turning, how old will you be as of the end of the year? I think so. Yeah, so we'll just need to verify.
Yeah, just send me your birth date to secretary@tvmakeover.org and I'll have a look at that for you. And yes, it is okay if you are competing on a horse that you do not own.
That is very common.
Yeah.
I would really encourage people, just because we've seen it happen on more than one occasion where, you know, the understanding of who's paying what bills and how things are being handled, like, goes awry between friends. I really encourage you, if you're sharing a horse or riding somebody else's horse, to have some kind of agreement. We're not party to that. It's really not any of our business, but you know, there are disagreements that have come up over the years about who has rights to entries and all that sort of thing. And just protect yourself and have some kind of agreement in place is what I encourage. Let's see. So microchips and health requirements. This organization and this event has gotten a lot of really good press for placing a lot of emphasis on health and wellness and soundness. We do have an arrival exam that every horse has to pass. And so what goes into that, you know, the big thing is body condition score. Horses need to be in a 4 or better, according to the Henneke system. Each horse that arrives at the makeover also has to be Jockey Club microchipped. So you have a microchip inserted that's been registered with the Jockey Club. You have those EHV1 and all of your vaccines, and we look for soundness in hand and normal vitals and free of like major swellings and blemishes. So every single horse goes through that, and it overwhelmingly successful. Like we do not have a lot of problems with horses meeting the body condition score. That's always a big worry for people, but it is not a prevalent issue for us. But it does mean engage your vet in the process. You know, tell them what the standard is that you have to meet. You know, and particularly as you're getting into the last like 3 to 4 months, like check in and make sure that your vet feels that you're on track to meet the benchmarks that are required. we do have that makeover trainers group, and it is a really, it's a very good community, very honest, straightforward. You know, there's people are very encouraging, and you know, people that are dealing with thoroughbreds a lot. But please don't use that group to come in search of like veterinary advice. You know, you will find people with personal experience in things, but a lot of the time we will tell you, you need to go back and talk to your vet, particularly on body condition assessment. You know, we always hit kind of like August or September and people start getting very worried about their body condition score. And they're like, how does my horse look? And it's like, you cannot fully and properly do that off of one picture on the internet. So we're just going to tell you that you need to talk to your vet. Kristen, do you want to talk about just some of the additional resources, just like with other webinars and stuff that we've done in the past?
Yep, we will do a new webinar on nutrition. We do one every year. We'll try to make it a little bit different every year because we tend to cover sort of the same topics. So that said, if you're looking for advice on how to build, you know, a basic diet for your OTTB, or you know, ways to tackle gastric health, we have all of our past nutrition webinars are available on our YouTube channel, which is just Retired Racehorse Project. We also have numerous articles on our website in the education section, covering all sorts of different education topics. It is very tempting to just go to the trainer group and be like, my horse looks thin, what do I feed it? But we recommend starting with the nutrition webinars that we've done, because the nutritionists who have been generous enough to donate their time for those always, you know, help you build a good diet from the ground up, and then you can go from there. So yeah, we will be doing another one this spring. We haven't scheduled it yet, but we will have one coming up.
There's a couple questions about microchips in the Q&A. We do have a tutorial that is on YouTube. It's also available in the trainer portal that gives you the rundown of how to register your horse's microchip number with the Jockey Club. There's also a microchip lookup tool that you can use. Please, 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 before you go sticking another microchip in your horse, please check to see if there's one there already. Every horse that is Jockey Club registered and has a start after that foaled after 2017 or later has a microchip. They switched over. They're not tattooing them anymore. Let's see. If my horse has a tattoo the last year of doing them and a microchip, the microchip was recently added but not registered with the Jockey Club, do I need to register it with the Jockey Club? Yes, microchips are absolutely useless if they're not registered anywhere. So take that 15-digit number. There's that tutorial on our website and it will show you, you just need a free account with Jockey Club info systems and you can log in and like literally 10 seconds get it registered. Okay.
We have a question as well about the conditioning award. There is a best conditioned award for every discipline, and they want to know what it consists of. Will you explain how that is?
So we, the best conditioned award is not a turnout award. It's not a fashion contest. It is a award that is determined. We usually give that honor to one of the discipline stewards who has watched every single horse go through their ring to look at the horse that they believe is best conditioned, that has great musculature, great bloom on their coat, is just in really great weight. So that is how that is awarded. So there is one per division. There's usually a little bit of cash and a nice halter or something like that to come with it.
Want me to answer this one? If I have multiple horses, can I have qualified people help me school, ride, when obviously not showing? Absolutely, you can have anyone ride your horse and even show your horse up until the makeover. Just after July 31st, you have to be the primary rider of that horse. So that means if the horse is ridden 5 days a week, you need to be the one riding that horse 3 of those days. But you can have other professionals, you can have amateurs, juniors, whoever you want. You do not have to be the only person riding and training that horse.
And specifically at the makeover, I believe, forgive me for not having this at the top of my head, I believe we might have given some clarification about like who can warm up the horse for competition and stuff like that. it needs to be somebody that's presenting the horse in competition that is warming that horse up for competition. But schooling days and hacking around the park, you know, one of the great things about this event is that like you're gonna make friends on the internet and you're gonna like chat and stuff all year long, and then you're gonna meet each other like in real life at the horse park. And there's a lot of like, let's go for a hack on the, you know, back of the property, let's trade, you ride mine, I'll ride yours, like, and we don't want to discourage anything like that, but when it's competition time, you need to be riding, warming up your own horses.
Registered as an individual, can you compete in 2 disciplines like jumpers and dressage? Yes, every horse can compete in up to 2 disciplines.
Understand that if you are somebody that has an individual with 3 horses and you do 2 disciplines per horse, you're going to have a very busy weekend.
Yeah.
The way that we make a 10 discipline horse show run on time is that you get a ride time for every trip, even if you don't traditionally have one in the discipline that you're used to competing in. Our hunter rings have ride times. Our jumper rings have ride times. So that's how we make it work. But what ends up happening is that if you have that many possible ride times, you know, with one person, please come with help. Yeah, you're gonna want to groom. The horse park is a big place, and you're gonna be running. So.
And I think we'll get to this question on sharing your stories and your updates. We'll get to that a little later when we talk about self-promotion and marketing. So we'll come back to you, Party Hat.
Yeah. And just before we leave microchips and stuff, just again, when we were talking about just resources and rules and time deadlines and stuff like that, just please take time to first yourself on paperwork requirements, health documentation. It's just, nobody wants to tell you that you can't be there when you get there with like a Tractor Supply receipt for your vaccines. Like that's not going to be sufficient, and nobody wants to have that conversation, and it would just be, it's really unfortunate, but it has happened. So please, you know, being a well-informed competitor is part of your responsibility in signing up for this. Like we have turned ourselves inside out to anticipate questions and try to thoroughly explain things and make all of this information available to you guys. So meet us halfway and make sure that you're absorbing as much as you can and asking questions if you don't understand. And then just the one ugly thing is we just have to say it. If COVID-19 surges again, or we are in some other public health crisis, the RRP's commitment is always going to be to run the safest event that we can in compliance with whatever mandates are in place at the time. So we as an organization, we do not require vaccines. We're not a public venue that people can come visit. We are running an event in somebody else's venue, in somebody else's state, and so we're going to comply with whatever the mandates are. You are obviously welcome to do whatever it is that you feel is necessary to be safe, but we're always going to operate within whatever is required of us in the horse park, in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I can tell you off the bat that the horse park tends to default to whatever the USCF's current protocols are. So just be aware. And if anything changes about, you know, what we need to do to be in compliance with things, our commitment is always going to be to tell you guys as early and proactively as possible. So that's how we operate, and hopefully we're just not going to be in that position ever again, but it still hasn't gone away. So, you know, just understand that our commitment is always to run a safe event, and your part of the deal is to comply with whatever mandates are in place from the top down. If you pay for a second stall, can you bring a second horse? But yes, you can bring non-compete horses. That's on a first come, first served basis based on availability. I have family and friends coming to support. Do they need to purchase tickets, or is it free? To attend the makeover is free. To park at the horse park, it is not free. So be prepared at some point to get caught for parking, and that goes straight to the horse park. We have made a decision not to charge admissions for the finale anymore. So that used to be like the only ticketed part of the event, and we are no longer charging admissions for the Saturday finale. So for coming and walking around and participating and being there, it costs nothing. There will be an awards dinner on Friday night that will cost money to attend. Catering is staggeringly expensive and painful. Trailer parking is technically free. You paid to park the truck that pulled the trailer in, so you paid to park, but they didn't charge you extra for your trailer. Note the trailer parking is like kingdom come away from the barns. Like it's a solid mile away from the barns. So just keep that in mind when making plans about tax stalls and where you're going to keep your stuff at night and all that sort of thing. But again, talking about things that don't matter at this stage, we will cover you. We will do another webinar like this in July to start getting you guys prepared and answer questions about stalls and arrivals and schedules and all that sort of thing.
There's a question on the Facebook side about TIP classes to enter with Halter Western Pleasure and how to qualify. We are going to try to schedule a webinar with Kristen Werner from TIP relatively soon to help go over that process, because it is going to be a little, there's like 2 processes running at once if you're planning to cross enter. So we're not going to get into that tonight because also Kristen Werner is still working on her prize list for that TIP championships. There is a qualification system to get into that TIP show. So we'll make sure that Kristen explains that well so that we don't throw anybody off track. So stay tuned for more about TIP Western Champs. Good question.
Yeah, just expect that that will be a kind of multi-part process. We're helping them with a certain amount of management. So there will be some things that go through us. There will be some things that go through them. The schedule is set up that it's very hospitable for you guys to enter both if you want to bring another horse with your makeover horse and have the other horse do tip. Like there's going to be flexibility because the majority of their events are going to run on Friday and Saturday. And our preliminary competition runs Wednesday and Thursday, and then we just have finale on Saturday. So there's going to be lots of activity and lots of stuff to do, but it's going to be very doable, in my opinion, to come and do both. So just keep an eye out for more detail about what they're going to be offering. It's going to be a fun week. You reserve stalls in August. Don't worry about it right now. There will be stalls. Let's see, and then we touched on lodging reservations. That's something that you can do now. Please go ahead and make your lodging and reservations. We do have a host hotel. There's information about that on the lodging page on the TV Makeover website. But there's lots and lots to choose from in terms of hotels, Airbnbs, camping at the horse park, lots to choose from. But I just really encourage people to get that out of the way early. And then I'm going to let Kristen touch on social media, self-promotion, how to get yourself noticed, how to pitch for press, all that sort of thing, because you guys, this is, as I have mentioned, the event is part of our charitable mission, and our charitable mission is to promote the horses. And so this is a showcase. We want you guys out there getting attention with your horses looking good. So here's Kristen to tell you more about how to do that well.
And if questions come in, Rayna and Kirsten, please stop me because I will just barrel on like a freight train. So, so just to touch on a couple things real fast with our Facebook group. Clearly some of you have found it because there's many of you watching in the Facebook group right now. So that is what we call, I hate to use the phrase safe space, but it's a good place to bounce ideas off with other people who are in the process now or have been in the process. It is for trainers only, and also I think parents of trainers. So definitely ask questions in there, bounce ideas off of there, share your triumphs, and also don't be afraid to share like some stumbling blocks and obstacles that you're running into. If you don't want advice, then make sure you post that, because otherwise you'll get plenty of suggestions on how you can work through your trouble spots. If you do have rules questions in that group, please email those to Rayna at secretary@tbmakeover.org, because we do have alumni in that group from like as many as 5 or 6 years ago. So if you post a question about the rules or you want clarification on something, everyone is so helpful in that group. People tend to just jump right in and respond. And they may not actually be up to date on the latest. So please make sure that you are emailing your rules questions to Rayna at secretary@tbmakeover.org.
Another just point on the purpose and like use of that group. That is not a space to like air concerns about anything that, like, if there's something about the program that you don't agree with or behavior from another competitor that you don't agree with, we absolutely want to have those conversations with you. We can't fix things that we don't have an awareness of. So, and I would say that as an organization, we take feedback very seriously and are very responsive to it. And also if there's, issues where you think that somebody is not acting within the code of conduct, like we take that very seriously as well, but we do need to know about it. But that group is not the space to do that. If you are like trying to start a conversation in there that is just very critical of the organization, like we're just gonna close that thread and you can have that conversation with us directly. It's just, do us the kindness of coming to us and having a dialogue with anything that you have a concern about.
All right. As I mentioned before, we're going to have a few more webinars coming up. Some of those will be just for the trainers in the trainer group, especially stuff that pertains specifically to the makeover and this year's makeover. We will also have a number of webinars that will be good information for you guys on your first year with a new horse. But a lot of those we're going to put over on our public page, Retired Racehorse Project. I noticed a lot of people today were like, where's this cool video? Where's this cool video? If you're not following Retired Racehorse Project on Facebook, please do so, because we share a lot of cool stuff industry-wide. So not just our own news, but also, just great stories about OTTBs. We share our graduates there. We share our cool videos there, so make sure you're following us there as well. We are also on Instagram at Retired Racehorse Project, and we're on Twitter at RRP_TB Makeover. We're not yet on TikTok. If you really want us to be on TikTok, send me an email and we will consider it. So that said, social media takes a lot of time. So if you are like ready to hit the ground running and you want to promote your horse on all the things, don't bite off too much more than you can chew, because social media only works when you feed it. So if you are like, great, I'm going to sign up, I'm going to get my horse a Facebook page, I'm going to get him his own Instagram account, I'm going to get him a Twitter, I'm going to get him a TikTok, you're going to run out of time every day if you're also intending to train that animal. So just do the things that you think you can maintain. There is a reason that we are on those 3 right now, and we haven't branched into TikTok yet. We might, we'll see. But generally speaking, like 1 or 2 channels that you maintain frequently are going to get you a little further than trying to do like 4 or 5 or 6. It takes a long time to put those videos together. If you want to join the bigger conversation, we use the hashtag TBMakeover. There's a lot of variations on that pop up every year, but the one that I search to find content to share, and the one that we promote as an organization to tell other people to follow your journey, is TB Makeover. Not TB Makeover 22, not TB Makeover excited, TB Makeover hopeful. It's just TB Makeover. Once the makeover is over, if you would like to keep promoting your horse, we love, love, love to follow graduates and see what you guys are doing, because of course this first year is just the first year. There's a lot more after the makeover. So TB Makeover Grad is for horses who have graduated the makeover process, even if you didn't actually get to show at the makeover. And that's how we can keep track of what horses are doing that's really cool afterwards. We're also starting to spotlight those horses in our magazine. So that's a really good way to stay on the RRP's radar after the makeover. You will see grad brag a lot in the trainer group. Y'all keep doing that. I'm not looking at it. I only look for TB Makeover Grad. I will I will make you all follow me at some point. TV Makeover grad, TV Makeover, those are our official hashtags. If you try to do stuff on the story, I will try to share you every day. Sometimes there's like 50 or more, and I will get through as many as I can. Again, there's 482 of you this year. So following along with sort of the channels that help get you noticed is just the best way to keep yourself on our radar. I only can share stuff that I hear about. And again, with that many of you, it's just not possible for me to share everything that you do all the time. So if you have a horse with a cool story and you're worried he's going to slip through the cracks, definitely shoot us an email. You can contact Rayna and she'll forward it on to me, secretary@tvmakeover.org. The easiest way to put yourself on our radar as you're registering your horse is to really fill out that horse registration form and put in as much information as you know. You know, we're always looking for, of course, stakes horses or horses who ran in the Breeders' Cup, or you know, we always spotlight, like, let's say our highest sale horse from Keeneland or Fasig-Tipton. But, you know, if you had a horse that, you know, has a really cool underdog story on the racetrack, definitely tell us about stuff like that, because those are the kinds of stories that we always like to share, either cool things about yourself or cool things about your horse. But we mentioned earlier the hyperlink on the entry list. The best way to make sure that you have a good public facing profile is to fill out those profiles all the way. So make sure that your profile is filled out all the way about you as the trainer, and then of course your horse registration form. This really is the first place that people are going to find horses. I can tell you already, there's a lot of traction on the entry form. Someone else commented on the Facebook group earlier that that's how their horse's breeder found their horse again, because that horse had fallen off the radar. So fill those things out all the way, and that's going to help the racing industry find its own horses, and then also of course help us find you. Let's see, I derail myself. We can get into more details on channels. You know, if you're not super accustomed to using Facebook, Facebook can work pretty well as a blog. It's becoming a little bit more of a longer format platform, you know, where you can tell a little bit more of your story in copy. It's also a good place to share videos. Instagram, of course, is much more visual. So that's a good place to share good quality photography, good videos. Reels are very popular, like TikTok Lite. So that's a good place to cross-post everything. Twitter, if you are looking to connect with your horse's racing connections, a lot of them are on Twitter. So Twitter's a really good place to stay involved with the racing industry. A lot of people just search, you know, your horse's trainer's name, breeder name, owner name, the last one on record, and a lot of the times you can connect with people that way. That's a really good way to keep your horse active with the racing industry. We will do a lot of that in October as well. We'll go through and find a lot of racing connections and be pitching your horses if they've made it to the final entry process, and we pick up a lot of shares that way. We will also we'll have a draft press release that goes into the competitor portal. So if you're not a gifted writer right off the bat, we put a sample press release in there, and you can sort of just fill in your own information about yourself and your horse. And you can send that out to local media. We've had good luck with trainers in the past, have sent their pitch to like local TV. Especially local TV loves good news stories, because as we all know, there's not a lot of that going on all the time. So sometimes this story, you know, about a local horsewoman taking a thoroughbred to this neat national competition is like exactly the kind of thing they like to do to close out the night. So we've had a lot of luck with trainers pitching their stories to local news and local newspapers. And of course, you know, there's also all of the equestrian publications as well, especially if you have a horse with a unique angle. Those are good places to pitch too. So you can either, you know, send a pitch right to an editor, or you can send that press release out, and that'll get you a lot of traction as well. So I'm hoping to have a new updated for 2022 press release in the competitor portal for you soon, in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that. Kirsten, do you want me to touch a little bit on sponsorships and budgets and fundraising? I know we mentioned that.
Sure.
Yeah, so the Makeover, I am a former Makeover trainer myself, so I understand that, you know, because it's a little different from a horse show, it can be more expensive. So if you're not accustomed to going to a lot of overnight shows and getting stalls and living there for a couple of days, sometimes it can seem a little intimidating. So one of the ways that you can break down a makeover budget into smaller bites would be to get some sponsorships. So what we want to make sure that is clear is that if you are fundraising for the purposes of getting to the makeover, we're not going to count that against you as an amateur. Like, that would technically violate your amateur status with your own organizations, most likely. So we always want to make sure that you understand that you may be putting your own amateur status at risk if you're choosing to fundraise in certain ways. So make sure that that's your priority first. After that, if you want to fundraise to get to the makeover, you are definitely more than welcome to do that. One thing that I find makes it a lot easier is to really map out your budget and then be very specific in what you're asking people for. So, if you figured out like, okay, I'm going to need 6 bales of bedding to get through the week, find someone who wants to sponsor your bedding and be your bedding sponsor. And that is a little less intimidating to friends, family, and organizations than saying like, hey, you want to give me $800 to go to the makeover. So if you approach people with like a small bite-sized buy, that goes over very, very well with folks. Have grandma buy you breakfast on Tuesday of makeover week, and she can give you the money you would need to get breakfast that day. Breaking everything down into little bites usually goes a long way with folks. If you're going to go the route of going a formal sponsorship, then you need to make sure that you're following up on your end of the bargain. So if you get, like, let's say your local truck dealership to sponsor $200 or $300 behind you in exchange for some shout outs on your horse's Facebook page, like, make sure you're going to do those things in exchange for people. If you're wearing a patch for somebody, make sure that patch is on at all times when you're in the show ring. So definitely, like, sponsor fulfillment is an important part of getting a sponsor. It's not just them giving you the money, it's you following up on your end as well. Individuals also fundraise a lot, through GoFundMe or other similar platforms. But again, if you're looking to attract sponsors, then you want to make sure you have a presence on social media and something to sell, for lack of a better word, to those folks.
We don't have any rules about sponsor logos. We get that every once in a while. Most federations have rules about how many patches you can put on your shirt and saddle pads and all that sort of thing. We do not. So, if that's a thing that you want to sell, sell whatever you can, like Ricky Bobby, like, sell the windshield on your car. I don't care. It doesn't matter to us. So, Joanne has a question. My question was not related to funding my son to the RRP. I'm asking, can I ask for donations directly to the RRP? Are you soliciting donations from your friends to give to us? Yes, of course. We are a 501c3 and donations are fully tax deductible. So that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, and Facebook, I think if I remember your question earlier, you can absolutely create a Facebook fundraiser for that money to go directly to us through Facebook.
Yeah. Please note that if you do Facebook fundraisers, the only thing that's a little bit difficult is we don't get very much donor data off of that. So it's very difficult for us to acknowledge people in the way that we might normally if the donation were sent directly to us. Like, sometimes we don't even get names from those fundraisers. So if it's important to get a tax letter and appropriate acknowledgement, that sort of thing, it's always, send checks, send it through our PayPal or that sort of thing. Facebook fundraising is fantastic. It's a great revenue stream for nonprofits, but there is that little rub. Sometimes it's hard to appropriately acknowledge donors.
Just to make sure, I might be overthinking this, but just to make sure this is clear, you cannot pay like your application fee or your entry fee via a Facebook fundraiser. If that's, I'm probably overthinking your question, Joanne. But if that's the direction that was going, that doesn't work. Okay, I think that is maybe what Joanne meant. So the transactional fees that are due to the RRP are due to the RRP, and we can't really route that through a Facebook fundraiser.
that would be incredibly difficult for us from an administrative standpoint to accurately track for you. So if you are trying to fundraise the fees that are due to us, I would suggest going, taking donations. And your entry fees are not tax deductible. Yeah, go ahead and email us, because
Yeah, I've
entry fees are not donations and they're not tax deductible, and so we wouldn't want to be suggesting to people that they were donations when they're not. That's all. Yes, go ahead and email us and we'll get you
I've made it worse. I'm sorry, Joanne. There was a question on the Facebook page. When can we add a second horse? If you have applied for multiple horses, you can register those horses at any time. If you've only applied for one and you've decided you might want to bring two, you can apply for that second horse via the wait list.
Yeah, they'll want to email me if they want to add a second horse. If you've already applied, email me and I can send you an invoice for that second horse. And once paid, I'll add it to your entry or put it on the wait list, whatever is the appropriate answer at the time.
I think I've tackled everything I meant to about promotion and press. If you are looking to have a specific story that you want to get out into the world, I know there was a question before on where can we share our blogs? Definitely the trainers group is a great place to share that stuff. In past years, the trainers group has been active enough that I have been able to mine a lot of the stories and content for our public pages just out of that group. So I don't want to overlook people that aren't active in that group, but that is the easiest way to get a collective amount of attention, just because that group has really good engagement. So that's a great place to drop links to your blog posts. We also have a public-facing RRP group called RRP Thoroughbred Makeover. So if you want to reach a wider audience, that's also a really good place to share your own content as well.
Just one comment about choice of words and that sort of thing. RRP as an organization likes to be mindful about how we use the term rescue. There are horses that are coming to the Thoroughbred Makeover that are rescues. They, were actually pulled from a kill pen or from the slaughter pipeline in one way, shape, or form. But that is a true rescue. If you acquired your horse through an aftercare organization or directly from the track connections, that is not a rescue. The majority of horses that are entered in the makeover are not rescues. I can tell you it's usually a single-digit percentage of horses in our entry pool each year are actually true rescue horses. So we just like to be mindful of that, because racing as an industry is our partner. We're supportive of racing. We don't consider these horses to be rescued from the track. And so we just really encourage people that are writing about their makeover experience and promoting themselves to just be careful about trying to make sure to use the term rescue in the most correct sense possible. Another one that we've tried to become a little bit more sensitive to is the term broke. Trained, reschooled. That's just one that we are trying to just kind of evolve our use of a little bit as well. That was a conversation that came up in our application committee meetings that we just want to be cognizant of. So, just kind of in the same vein of using RRP and makeover and that sort of thing correctly, it's, words matter. And we truly believe that the majority of horses that are coming to this event are not rescues.
Joanne, yes, that is the press release I mentioned just a few minutes ago. I will be updating that for 2022. So keep an eye out on the competitor portal, and we'll also make sure that we put the word out when that's available.
Elisa wants to know what happens in the unfortunate case if you apply for two horses but one gets injured. You can always enter another horse, but at this point, entry fees are non-refundable, or application fees are non-refundable. So you do have the option of switching horses around, or you come with the one.
Yeah. And at that point, if you are really, really want to just bring the one, and you would like your second horse converted to a donation, we can send you a tax receipt for that, but it is non-refundable.
Well, this kind of like winds down to, I think we've really covered most of like our agenda here, and we will take a couple more minutes to do Q&A, but again, just some closing thoughts. Welcome you guys. I enjoy the experience. Take every day, one day at a time, listen to your horses, make use of your community, make use of your resources. This is a long game. Like, yes, there is a goal at, in 8 months that we're all trying to achieve, but whether or not you actually complete the event, you still are impacting horses' lives in a very positive way to get these horses off the track and to put a good training on them, good foundational, just toolbox basically, is one of the best things that you can do to ensure a fruitful life outside of racing. So just enjoy the ride, be positive, take advantage of the community, stay in your lane is a statement that comes up a lot. Everybody moves at their own pace. Some people will make leaps and bounds of progress in the first 2 months, and then they'll get sidelined with something later, and you'll be over here being like, I still can't canter on the right lead yet. Try not to get too caught up in somebody else's progress. We don't have, like all social media, it all looks great.
Yeah, don't compare yourself to what other trainers are doing in the Facebook group. Like, you're all on your own journey. You're all going to go at different paces with your makeover horses. And
we've got a good webinar that was so popular the first year, we ran it twice. So in 2020 and 2021, Dr. Shannon Reed and I did a webinar on what to do if you cannot ride, which someone interpreted to mean what to do if you're bad at riding. That's not what that means. It means what to do if you are like me right now and surrounded by ice and cannot actually put a saddle on and get on your horse. So if you too are in a situation like that, I recommend hitting up our YouTube channel and looking for that webinar, because there's lots of ideas on ways you can still keep your training moving forward, even if you can't physically get on the horse and go for a ride. I always called myself #Team No Arena in 2018 when I was prepping for the makeover, because I don't have one. So I did all of my training out in the cow field. So it can be done. So if you two are stuck somewhere, and don't feel like you can make a lot of progress, better weather is coming. So hang in there.
So last call for questions. I will go ahead and answer this. Joanne, you asked how many people applied for the makeover. We don't publicize that information. There are people that don't get in each year, and that's a difficult conversation to have with people, and we do not care to highlight the number of people that are affected by that. So that is how we handle our entry numbers. Any other questions?
If you happen to be watching this on demand later and you've gotten this far and you're still watching, don't post your questions on the comments in the Facebook page. We'll do our best to keep track of those, but there is just a lot of noise on social media all the time. So if you have burning questions and you need them answered, the best place to get those answered is secretary@tbmakeover.org, or give us a call during business hours and we will hit you up.
Yep. We promise we're not grumpy. We just want to take care of you as efficiently as possible. And yeah, it's just easy to lose things in Facebook Messenger and chat threads and comment threads and that sort of thing. So
yeah, so that said too, class of 2022, I already know I love you. If I don't acknowledge your Facebook friend request, it's not personal. If I don't know you, I'm just not going to friend you. I have a bunch of friend requests and I'm very excited that everyone's so eager. But yeah, I'm starting to cut down on random makeover folks on my friends list. So don't take it personally if our RP staff does not accept all of your friend requests right away.
Sarah, just to reiterate, the Zoom recording will be put up on our Facebook page. If you're in the trainers group, it gets saved to the video section of the trainers group. We also usually post all of our webinar YouTube links in the trainer portal. Again, the trainer portal is a really good resource of just additional information, copies of tests and patterns, other policies and procedures and that sort of thing. And we try to make sure that as we generate these webinars throughout the year that we're posting them there as well. All right.
All right, everybody, hashtag TB Makeover. Let's make it a good year.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.